It's Fired Up Friday, and football is back.
Welcome on in to the AZ Wildcats podcast, live from Studio K, presented by our friends at Circle K. I am Damon, dog. That is Kevin Thomas, and it is a Fired Up Friday. Kevin, we got football tomorrow morning, and I want that injected directly into my veins because we are so back. We've never been more back, and I'm fired up, my brother. How are you living on a Friday afternoon?
Let's go. I am excited. Football is back. Arizona Wildcats football nears inches ever so much closer. Damon, I am ready for that kickoff versus Hawaii in the week 1 matchup. But you got to get through week 0 first. And for Arizona, they don't have a game coming up in week 0, but Hawaii does. And we're going to preview that game to maybe get a little bit of insight into how Arizona can beat the brakes off Hawaii in their week 1 matchup. But before we get there, Damon, happy Friday, chat. Happy Friday, Damon, dog. We have made it yet another week on this planet, and I am happy to announce that the weekend is almost here. The beer is flying into my hand once I leave the office later. It's going to be a good weekend. Heading down to Tucson. IFL Championship is in town. It's going to be a great weekend, Damon, ahead of Arizona's football season coming up.
Carl makes a good point. I forgot to throw in, I was so excited just to talk about the fact that football season is back that I didn't even mention that we're in HQ3, baby, with Lute Olson right behind me. Just always watching over our sweet baby Lute Olson. Nothing like it, man. And Kevin, we are so fired up to be here on a Friday, a fired up Friday, and talking about your Arizona Wildcats. It's been a great week. It's been a fun week, and it's just time. It's time for the season to start, man. It really is. We got Kansas State versus Iowa State tomorrow morning in Dublin, Ireland. Bro, how crazy would it be to get the Dublin game?
In Dublin? I can't do an Irish accent.
I think I would do everything in my power to try to go to that game.
That'd be electric. You and I, like, in a pub doing the show, kind of like how the McAfee show did it when they were out there for last year's game, just at a pub, having several pints over the course of the show. You never know what could go down. You get the AZ Wildcats podcast overseas. I don't know.
That's
but
different.
I would fight tooth and nail to get out to Ireland to watch that game. It would be incredible, Damon. It would be absolutely cinematic.
Unbelievable Irish impression there from my guy Kevin Thomas.
It's not in my bag. It's not in my bag.
No, you're a little bit more of like a you can do a little bit of a Scouse impression, and you definitely you can do a little bit of like Cockney, but you can't. You're not big on the Irish part. And
the Irish is hard.
That's a tough skill to be able to differentiate all those different accents. But Max asks here, Stanford or Hawaii? That's a great question off the bat, and it kind of will lead us into our discussion about the Hawaii Rainbow Warriors ourselves. But if we were to check with our friends at Bet365, I believe Hawaii is a minus 135 favorite. I'm going to give that a double check right now against Stanford. Yep, 2.5 points, minus 135 against Stanford. Was looking at the lines this morning. Stanford, a plus 115 underdog in the state of Hawaii. I know Stanford is not supposed to be very good this season, but it does, kind of exemplify that Hawaii is a team that needs to be taken seriously. They are favored over a power conference opponent, whether or not that power conference opponent is, good or not, I think is a different discussion, but I'll tell you what they do have. They have an NFL head coach. Frank Reich is their head coach. Even if he wasn't that great in the league itself, you still have to expect that, a guy like that is the caliber above maybe an average collegiate head coaching staff and staff in general. So, I think that it means a little bit of something that Hawaii is favored over Stanford. What say you, Kevin?
I think it does mean something that Hawaii is favored by a field goal over Stanford in this matchup. You also have Andrew Luck coming in and being the GM of Stanford football program right now, and that is probably how you even get Frank Reich to Stanford in the first place, in my opinion. And I think that it kind of starts with wiping the slate clean once Andrew Luck has arrived. You had a 3-9 mark last year, which 14th best in the ACC. In the ACC, maybe you feel differently on this, Damon. I don't feel like that conference, while it is a power conference, doesn't really do much for me outside of maybe the top teams in that conference. The rest of the conference, you can kind of swap out, I feel like, with other teams in the nation. I don't think Stanford being in the ACC does much for me. It's not like they're a perennial ACC contender. They just got there, and they are not looking like a pretty person there at that dance. I think that what Frank Reich can bring to this Stanford program will not be seen in this first year. This is a turnaround that is going to take probably multiple years to get there. This is not like a Texas Tech. This is not name a program that has the huge NIL endowments to put out there and make sure the turnaround happens expeditiously. This is a Stanford, program that is at a campus that is focused on academics. Yeah. Right. If Stanford football is good, that is a cherry on top of what they have going on over there in California. Right. But that is not their prerogative. That is not their main objective, right? Making sure Stanford football is elite. So I think this is going to take at least a year and a half probably for Frank Reich to really get things under control there in Stanford and moving in the right direction. And I don't think it's going to start with a victory against Hawaii. It's interesting, though, right? Because when you look at what Stanford was able to do, they bring in former Oregon State backup quarterback Ben Goldbranson, this is in his sixth and final year of eligibility. Last season, he had 61% completion percent on just under 1,000 yards, 4 touchdowns and 4 interceptions. Nothing that really jumps off the page to you there. But I think what is interesting is that Andrew Luck being the GM, Frank Reich being a guy who is experienced coaching the best of the best at the NFL level, right? If Stanford at this point in their program is taking a transfer quarterback, I'm inclined to believe that there are some skills there that maybe not have been refined or utilized properly at their prior stop that Andrew Luck, maybe not personally, but when the scouting people that Andrew Luck had put into play there are evaluating this player, I have faith that it's going to be a serviceable quarterback for Stanford. Is Goldbranson going to come out there and set the world on fire? Probably not. But is he going to look serviceable for Stanford? I think so. I'll
tell you what Goldbranson doesn't do. He doesn't fit the name test.
Facts.
Like,
he sounds like a hockey player.
Like I'm sorry, my quarterback's name is Noah Fafita. Like, that's a star. That's a star. Yeah, there it is right there. Read it. Tattoo it on your arm. Goldbranson is just not that.
No.
Sorry, you don't fit the name test. You're not my quarterback. So, Andrew Luck, you could do whatever you want. Andrew Luck, that fits the name test. That's a bona fide star in the making, right? But yeah, I don't know, man. I'm out on Goldbranson for that reason alone.
Look, I feel like Goldbranson, if my beloved St. Louis Blues of the NHL drafted a defenseman named Ben Goldbranson, I would be incredibly confident that guy can hold down the blue line. He can hold down the blue line, lay a couple hip checks, put some guys into the bench, and it'll be a great physical, probably like Swedish player or something.
Yeah,
right?
I'm gonna get an etymology check on that name.
Yeah, but anyway, Ben Goldbranson does not pass the name test, but he is probably going to be a serviceable quarterback for Stanford next year. I think that also when you're evaluating Stanford, it's important to mention what they have lost this offseason. They lose standout edge rusher David Bailey, who ended up being one of the treasure trove of transfers that headed over to Texas Tech. That is a huge hole now in your defensive line. Now you do have I did not write down his name in my rundown, but you do have a returning player stepping up into that role to replace him. He is actually from Hawaii, the player replacing David Bailey, and he's going to be an honorary captain for this game. Really cool story, but I don't necessarily think that it gives Stanford an edge losing David Bailey in this game. And then also, fun little fact for you, Damon. I don't know if you remember much about Stanford and Hawaii's matchup last year, but Stanford held Hawaii to just -5 rushing yards in their 2024 matchup.
Yeah.
Which is not something to overlook. Now, I also outlined that you lose a guy like David Bailey, who is a huge part of that attack. But I think that I'm picking Hawaii in this, but I would never rule out Stanford in this kind of a matchup, mostly because I just don't think that Hawaii is some Mountain West monster that is gonna come in and make it look easy against Stanford. Now maybe they do. Maybe they shut down Stanford early on, but I do think that this is going to be a little bit of a closer game to start. Maybe Hawaii pulls away towards the end. Yeah. So to answer Max's question, I am picking Hawaii in this matchup. I think they have more forward momentum in their favor, and I think that right now Stanford is just trying to right the ship and get some stability going on there and look good doing it. So I think that there are just two teams in a little bit of a different place. Hawaii looking to prove itself in the Mountain West this year. Stanford looking to just keep its head above water under first-year head coach Frank Reich.
Yeah, and you mentioned some of the transfers away for Stanford, but what I will say is that they do return 14 of 22 starters on the offensive and defensive side of the football, which is a fairly large portion of your returning starters in modern college football, especially when you were a flat-out bad football team last year. Typically, that doesn't happen. So you could argue that they were bad, and maybe you don't want all those returners for starters returning. But I think that will do them some favors, especially in a week 0 matchup against opponent that is in a much weaker conference than you. But ultimately, I think that this matchup is going to tell us so much about where Hawaii is at going into week 1, right? Like if Hawaii goes out there and beats Stanford, I think, I know I'm going to be like, okay, we got a real matchup ahead of us on Saturday. If they go out and lose to Stanford, on the other hand, I'm feeling pretty damn confident that Arizona is going to be able to win their week 1 matchup against Hawaii, especially given the fact that they're already kind of a 2-touchdown favorite, depending on what sportsbook you look at. I believe our friends at Bet365 have them at 13.5, Arizona over Hawaii right now. I think that line could obviously see some movement depending on the game this week, but ultimately, it's Hawaii's quarterback. They're kind of their calling card of their team in general is their passing offense. They're going to try to throw the ball around. They're going to try to spread it out. And you mentioned the run game. I think that probably is going to continue, right? Like I would imagine, even though Hawaii does have a pipeline of size, right? Like there's no question about that. You have, we got Jonas Sabanaya out of Hawaii, right? Like and he probably would have gone to Hawaii if Arizona didn't offer him because he was so undervalued as a prospect because of the whole COVID situation and scouts unable to really get a good look at, the Hawaiian football players because of the COVID restrictions at the time. But Hawaii has size. I don't know if they have power for size though. And that's where I think that, I think the Stanford's run defense is probably gonna dominate in this game, but can they stop that Hawaii passing attack led by Micah Alahado, who is a Hawaiian native? He went to Bishop Gorman, and he performed really well, Kevin, in his limited opportunity last season. That's why I think a lot of people are kind of putting a lot of stock into him because in really his 2 pieces of action that he saw all season long, he got put in a blowout game against Utah State. Granted, I'm sure Utah State is playing very back, allowing a lot of this to happen. But Micah Alahado had 11 for 12 with 111 yards and a touchdown for a 91.7% completion percentage in that game when he got put in. And then he got the start 2 weeks later versus New Mexico in a 38-30 dub against a New Mexico team that, Kevin, was pretty damn good.
Yeah.
They had Devin Dampier. They had Eli Sanders. They had Luke Wysong. All 3 had good games in that game. Devin Dampier was, I wouldn't say it's a great game necessarily, but he threw for 176 yards. Eli Sanders had 121 on the ground. Luke Wysong had 70 yards through the air. And Devin Dampier put up 101 yards on the ground with 3 touchdowns as well. So, New Mexico played decent in that game, but Micah Alahado was able to put up 469 yards, 5 touchdowns, and 0 interceptions on that New Mexico defense. Noah Fafita put up pretty similar numbers when the Arizona Wildcats faced off against the New Mexico Lobos in week 1 of last season. Both those teams finishing 5-7 on the year, and Hawaii getting the W by 8 points, 38-30. So in his limited action, he's stepped up, man. He's looked good. And I, obviously how good he is really going to be a determining factor for this Hawaii team because he's your quarterback, right? Like that's pretty obvious. If he goes out there and lights up Stanford, I'm not going to lie. I'm a little bit worried going into the first week of the season. But what I will say, though, from an Arizona perspective, the strength of this defense should be the pass defense. Given the DBs that you have out on the field, given what we've heard from fall camp with Michael Dansby looking really strong, with MGK returning as a starter from last year, with Javion Cole transferring in from Texas and getting back with Brent Brennan and that San Jose State staff that he thrived under when he was there before he transferred to Texas and was kind of relegated to a backup role, as well as Aiden Garnes from West Virginia, who seems by all accounts is having a really good fall camp as well. So, and that's not to mention the safeties who we all know about: Genesis Smith, Dalton Johnson, Traden Stukes at nickel corner, Jack Luttrell, who got a ton of time last year and I thought was one of the kind of shining stars of in terms of people that were kind of thrust into their opportunities and had to make the most of it. I think that that's a good, in terms of just like, Hawaii's going to want to throw the football, but if you're going to beat Hawaii, who's trying to go out there and throw the football that much, Kevin, I do think that Arizona is set up well, at least to kind of counteract that.
I want to come back to the passing defense part of things, but I want to start in asking you maybe a clarifying question in terms of your concern. Like, remember when you were saying there that if Hawaii comes out there and is running and gunning against Stanford offensively, you said you would be, I believe you said you'd be worried going into that matchup.
I'm not going to say like the panic button's on the table, but I would definitely be like, all right, we got ourselves a football team that we're playing next week. This isn't some slouch Mountain West opponent,
Yeah, no, and I'm with you on that. I think that it would show me that they are no slouch and that they do belong in the Mountain West if they are able to go run and gun against Stanford. But for me, my concern would only last up until about halftime. And by that, I mean, if Hawaii comes out there and dominates Stanford, makes it look simple, they're running and gunning, Alahado, he comes out and he has a crazy game with like 350, 400 yards and multiple touchdowns. That only gives me more worry that they'll hang with Arizona in the first half. And when I say that, I'm not trying to discredit Hawaii. But what I am saying is, if you and I have put all this effort into learning Arizona football this year and learning what the changes they've made and really listening to Brent Brennan and giving him an honest chance of, all right, have you really changed this? Have you made substantial changes that are going to have this football program looking substantially different in 2025? If that is the case, this should only be but a competition for a half, right? And that is giving credit to Hawaii, who is a good team. I feel like Arizona in the Big 12 is supposed to be here. And I'm not even saying that within relation to the Big 12 teams, but I'm saying Hawaii in the Mountain West is still supposed to be down here.
Yep.
Right? No matter how good they look, the talent is supposed to rise to the top in that way.
Only like Boise State, right, would be like a team that you would look at and say like, I think on paper they're probably like maybe favored over Arizona in a matchup. Because other than that, you're right. Like if it's a Mountain West opponent, Arizona should, if they have bowl game aspirations, be able to beat those teams.
Yeah, even if Hawaii comes out and looks great against Stanford, it doesn't give me any concern or worry in relation to the Arizona matchup. If anything, it makes me more interested. It makes me feel like, we're going to have some fun watching this outside of just the new look Daggy offense and what Brent Brennan has changed in year 2.
Yeah.
It could be a fun matchup with all types of tie-ins between the islands and Arizona and the players and all that stuff. It could be a really fun weekend for that game. It would give me more faith that it's not just going to be like, okay, Arizona just whooped on them and now we can move on to week 2. I don't know if that would ever be the case, to be honest with you, in this matchup. But I think that I wanted to ask you about that because I was like, I don't know if any result against Stanford gives me real concern for Arizona because I think Arizona is supposed to be a tier or 2 above Stanford in this upcoming season. So I'm not worried about it as much. Carl Schroeder brings up the point in the chat. He says, elevation plus heat difference plus speed of the way that this Daggy and Gonzalez units want to play. He anticipates that Arizona is going to wear out Stanford.
Yeah.
I think that could also be a big part of this. And I do want to talk about some advantages that Arizona might have due to Hawaii playing in a week 0 game against Stanford. And we're going to get to that after this ad break here on the AZ Wildcats podcast. Drink your water, leave a like, don't go anywhere. And if you know me, you know that I love sports memorabilia. Rally House is the best space to get that in. They have everything from kitchenwares to your favorite players' jerseys. And I don't know if there's another place on planet Earth that you can find that type of sports memorabilia variety I am talking literally everything from signage to flags to jerseys to, I always bring up coasters because they have awesome selection of coasters when I went to the Rally House in St. Louis. But the Rally House out here in Arizona, they are expanding their game. They have 3 locations out here, Tempe, Mesa, and Glendale. Make sure to stop by. If you have any interest in getting some sports memorabilia, you must stop by Rally House. It is the go-to spot for all your favorite local Arizona teams with tens of thousands of products, and I am not joking, to choose from. And now, every time you visit a Rally House, you're guaranteed to find something new because, like I said, that assortment of things you can shop from is ever expanding. So find your local Rally House location today and shop their entire product assortment online at www.rallyhouse.com right now in another window while you're still watching our show.
Kevin, there are 3 Rally House locations in the great state of Arizona.
Correct.
There's an East Valley, West Valley, and Central Valley. There's something for everybody. It shouldn't be too far from you. And one of my favorite things about Rally House is you're not going to find any Dodgers crap, Cowboys crap, Yankees crap, Lakers crap. Like, they care about the local sports teams. So if you're an Arizona sports fan, you go to a Rally House, you're going to see Cardinals, Suns, D-backs, ASU, U of A, and it's, Yotes if we still had them. It's going to be electric. It's one of the greatest things about Rally House and what makes them so much better than any of their other competitors. Another place that I have to just tell you about that is so much better than all of their competitors is 2 Men in a Truck. Guys, if you are moving, there is one place to do your move or to help you with your move, and it's 2 Men in a Truck. We moved offices, right? We went from one spot downtown across the entirety of Phoenix downtown to another place. 2 Men in a Truck showed up, and from 8 to 10:30, they got all of our furniture moved into our new office in the proper rooms. I mean, you've never seen anything like it. It was one of the most efficient moves I've ever seen, Kevin. I know, I thank the Lord every day that they didn't make our employees do the move, right? That would have been disastrous. They handle it. They make it simple. They make it easy. And another thing they can do for you if you have a move is give you some extended storage space for the time being while you're, maybe trying to settle some things inside your new home. We love our friends at 2 Men in a Truck. They made our move so easy, and the change of scenery presents new beginnings and a sign of big things to come. For your next move, visit 2menscottsdale.com. 2 Men in a Truck, the movers who care. Or for all your storage needs, visit 2menscottsdale.com to learn more about their storage solutions.
Kobe is in the chat. What is up, Kobe? He asks, is anyone going to the Mercury takeover later? And if you're not going to the Mercury takeover, you should have checked that out because they did sell out. But you should go to the next one when we do have a Mercury takeover.
They always sell out the Merc takeovers. It's
if
beautiful.
I didn't have my hair appointment, I would be going. I'm trying to look fresh for the IFL Championship. This weekend in Tucson. But I will be at Kalia Copper bobblehead night next month. I'm very excited about that. The bobblehead is sick. Damon, if you haven't seen it, get your eyes on it. It's very cool. I will be acquiring one. Kobe, you should look into that as well. But yeah, shout out to the PHNX Mercury podcast. Head to the next takeover. This one did sell out. Become a diehard, of course, always, for discounts on all the types of events we got going on in the PHNX company.
Kobe, did you settle on which jersey you're going to be wearing to the game tonight? I know.
And why is it the split Cunningham and Clark jersey?
I know Erica was pretty fired up last night talking to us about maybe your potential wardrobe choices for this game. So let us know in the chat. But Kevin, I did want to mention Carl's comment up here in the chat as well. He asked about kind of the time difference for a week 0 game. I will just say, speaking from experience as someone that was on and a part of the U of A football team, not on, but a staff member of the U of A football team, when we played Hawaii in week 0 of, I believe, it was year 1, Kevin someone, so that would make it 2018. God damn. That is a million years ago. But when you're looking at week 0, you typically go out about a week early, so you are very acclimated to the time difference and to the change in weather and humidity and whatnot. You get some practices in. School hasn't quite started yet, so it's not like you're taking the players away from anything necessarily. So there's kind of an acclimation process to that. Obviously, Hawaii is very, used to these conditions, and it's a little bit different for them because this is what they live in. But I will say that I wouldn't take the time difference into much account because they've they've probably acclimated to the time change by this point.
Real quick not tangent, but side comment. Speaking of start time and time difference, have you seen the start time for UFC Shanghai?
Of course, Kevin. I was talking to you off air about it yesterday. You're not gonna get to watch it, buddy. This is me and you. We're gonna put our bets in before we leave the office today, and then tomorrow morning we're gonna wake up and be like,
I'm rich.
Scrolling through.
I was telling Connor that because Jonna wakes up so early for her pastry job, that I probably will actually be able to catch the main card. I'll just tell her to shove me and wake me up because I got to watch some fights and while she goes to work. But back to football.
I want to start it here, actually, because Sam Albert's put here, he wants to see this offense at a prime rich rod pace. And in my mind, first, when we're talking about the Hawaii versus Arizona matchup, my main thing that I'm looking for the Arizona Wildcats to be able to do is establish the ground game. And I'll tell you why. Last season was pathetic from a run game standpoint, right? Like that, and I'm not going to blame Quali Conley as a player. It had a lot to do with the scheme. It had a lot to do with the offensive line and lack of, it felt like kind of, like true identity of what they were trying to accomplish. I do think he was a fairly average collegiate running back. Like that's not a guy who's going to move the needle at all. We obviously know with our guy Ja'Cory Crosskey-Merritt, who, seemingly with the Brian Robinson trade as of this morning, is going to get some pretty decent opportunity as a rookie in Washington. So, I will say that they still have Chris Rodriguez over him on the depth chart, as well as Austin Eckler, but he's going to see some run and he's going to get some opportunity with the ball in his hands. It's up to him to make the most of it. Ja'Cory Crosskey-Merritt could have made whole season last year different. We've been saying it and pounding that drum for months here, Kevin. I remember that was one of my first takes on this show. We have Bill in the backfield. I think we make a bowl game last season. I think we win that Texas Tech game for sure, which if you remember watching that game, it was torturous, genuinely torturous watching that game. It was as if everything that Arizona could have done wrong to lose that game happened. And if you have a running back that's a needle mover, I think that just goes differently. And then you're looking at a 4-1 Arizona team with Houston still on the schedule, needing 2 wins the remainder of the season to make a bowl game. I just think that would have drastically changed, kind of the outlook of the team. That being said, like, they weren't able to establish any ground game last year. So every team knew what they were trying to do. They were trying to pass. They had to pass because they were giving up points so early in games and they were trying to make comebacks. And it didn't lead to any identity of offense. Seth Doege went to Marshall last season and made them one of the premier run games in the entire country. If Arizona is a serious team in the Big 12, they will be able to establish the ground game early and often versus Hawaii. They should be, and there really shouldn't be any quarrels about it. If they're going out there, Kevin, and they're getting stuffed 2 yards, 3 yards, even 4 yards on every carry and not breaking off any decent-sized runs, that's where I'm going to raise some eyebrows early on and say I'm concerned about this team, because a Rich Rod team, as Sam puts in the chat, they would dominate Hawaii on the ground no matter what.
2 thoughts. First thoughts, you mentioned JCM and how he would equal a bowl game. Should we start pushing the specific movement of Bill equals bowl for Arizona in 2024, looking back on it? If they had Bill, they would have been to the bowl. But anyway, back to what you were saying about the pace and the balance of the offense. Yes, I do want to see the incredibly strong run game, but I also want to see it result in 3 things. I want to see it result in pressure, pace, and power from the offense. And by that, I mean, I want the run game to put pressure on the defense. I want the pace to be super fast. And then I want that to result in powerful home run hitting plays throughout the course of the game.
Dynamic offense.
There
was no dynamism to the offense last year, and it was genuinely infuriating to watch. Can you think of any chunk plays that didn't involve Tetairoa McMillan?
The touchdown to Kean Burnett against Utah?
Yeah. And they won that game. Little known fact. That's one of the only decent wins on the entire season.
Wasn't there? No, it's the fact that I have to think this hard about the explosive plays is insane. There was one to Chris Hunter towards the end of the year, but now I have 2. We have 2 on our hands of explosive plays last year. And what I want to see against Hawaii, like Damon alluded to, I want to see that run game turn into versatility and dynamism on the offensive side of things. I want to see Seth Daigie's footprint or fingerprint and footprint. Hell, on every possession. All four. Crazy, but I want to see it. I need to see Seth Daigie's all 4 footprints on this game. I really feel as though Arizona will be able to get that going, at least in these first couple non-conference games. I really anticipate Arizona to come out with a super high pace, super high productivity, and a versatile offense in the first couple weeks of this non-conference. Once we get into Big 12 play, and I guess once we get into that K-State game and past it, mileage may vary on the effectiveness of that offense. We can reevaluate that at that time. But just based off of expectations, this non-conference, I need to see Arizona's offense hit some home runs, have some consistency, have some dynamism, and put some pressure on the defense, make them make mistakes. I'm very excited for what Seth Daigie can do for this offense because it really felt like last year the offense was just missing, well, several things. But it felt like the offense was really missing a plan. It was really missing
100%.
I don't want to say identity, but it was missing an identity. It had no plan. It had no idea what it was trying to do, how it was going to accomplish its goals, what its goals even were. This year, I don't think you could have had, and someone fact check me in the chat if you are a fan of some small school out there that I'm not aware of, but I feel like Arizona, from a full 180 standpoint, might have done the fullest of 180s of any program in a power conference, right? In terms of having no plan offensively, to now having a guy like Seth Daigie who is all plan all the time, plan for the plan to go wrong and then plan again kind of a guy. I am all the way with it. So, yes, I am with you, Damon. I think the run game needs to be effective, but I think the run game is only going to be as effective as it can open up the pass game, if that makes sense. Like, I think I want to see the run game open up the pass and turn it into a track race for Arizona, in my opinion. I want to see Ishmael Mahdi breaking through a gap, going for 30 yards. Maybe I'm just missing football, and I want to see these explosive plays because I haven't seen explosive plays in so many months. But I really do expect Arizona to come out. And if Hawaii makes it tough for a half, they make it tough for a half. But I expect Arizona to pull away using those home run dynamic plays. You know what I mean?
I want to see Ishmael Mahdi break off some big long runs in particular.
Yeah.
And same thing with a Quincy Craig, maybe a screen out of the backfield that goes for a big long gain. Kevin, I did want to mention this because it was reported upon. I missed this looking like a few months ago here in May. Do you know how much money Dino Babers was given to leave Syracuse? He had 2 years left on his contract.
$4.8 million.
$9 million is what they paid him to never show his face in Syracuse, New York again. Then we decided, hey, we'll pay you 7 figures to be our offensive coordinator, even though you haven't called plays in half a decade. And while he was collecting his $9 million check, we're giving him even more money. It's somewhat of the Kevin Sumlin situation, right? In a way. It's like you have a coach who's been established, who's worked for a long time, who's made a ton of money, right? And he gets fired at a bigger opportunity. And I know that Syracuse isn't some juggernaut football program, but he was the head coach at Syracuse versus the offensive coordinator at Arizona. Then you target that guy, that retread, if you will, and you say, I know you're getting paid insane amounts of money, more than we could dream of paying you. Like Texas A&M was paying Kevin Sumlin to walk out the door to come, to be our coach. It will give you a drop in the bucket. And I'm sure you're going to work your ass off. And it seems like the most obvious thing ever that's not going to work. You couldn't have picked a more opposite coordinator in Seth Daigie. You couldn't have gone to the other end of the spectrum further, right? And so that's where I have some optimism. That's where I feel a lot better about this team. And man, Dino Babers, the crimes that you committed against this program will never be forgiven. What's funny is, remember when they brought him in, Kevin, they were like, hey, this guy, remember he used to be at U of A under Dick Tomey, and isn't he the best? And we're getting the gang back together, right? Brennan worked with Dino Babers back in the day on Arizona's staff, all this nonsense. And it's just yeah, but did he really want to be here? Was he really going to work that hard for this program? And the answer was very clearly no. And that's what, like, thank goodness that we can sit back here now and say, I don't have to worry about Dino Babers as my offensive coordinator. It really is going to be the biggest night and day difference from last season to this season.
Until Brennan, hired Seth Dagey, the Dino Babers hire was by far the biggest red flag that Brent Brennan had showed us as Arizona fans thus far.
Yeah, and
in
I was
terms of his
blinded to
decision making,
I was
and in
blinded
terms
to it.
of no, you're right. And in terms of his ability to like be the CEO of the program, I felt like by the end of last season, I was like, my opinion was I didn't have trust in Brent Brennan to go out and hire new staff because look what he did with the staff he just brought on, and those were his guys.
Mm-hmm.
And so I felt like there's no way that Brent Brennan can solve this, fix this mess. And then he calls Seth Dagey up, unbeknownst to me and my dumb self, and he goes, "Hey Seth, you wanna help me fix this and turn this ship around?" And now we are cooking, and I feel like we have a new idea of what Brent Brennan wants to do with this program. I think that we talked to Spears yesterday, and he alluded to the fact that, hey, Brent Brennan knows he screwed that up. Brent Brennan knows that was the wrong choice. Brent Brennan knows that bringing in Dino Babers, who clearly I would have loved to get video of that job interview, because clearly had zero plan as to what he was going to do once he got into the door at Arizona. And so that
I can't begin to even wonder what the question making of that interview was like.
Hey, Dino, so when you look at Noah Fafita, what talent do you see? Honestly, I think I see a great guy who can throw a really good funnel screen, and I think I want to make him scared for his life every time he drops back. That's my plan, Coach.
Hey, Dino, what's your favorite Mexican food restaurant in Tucson that you're excited to try when we bring you back on staff?
All of them.
I can't get it out of my head. That's what I've been. That's why I want to have been back here the entire time. It wouldn't shock me.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It was just a weird decision to bring in Dino Babers. Looking back on it, and I'm glad that it has been corrected. The results that it caused cannot be undone, unfortunately. But I do have faith that Brent Brennan has shown an understanding of what it takes to change that and right that. And by bringing in Seth Dagey, you've done the full 180. You've turned that part of things around. Now, will it result in W's? Yet to be seen. But right now, in terms of my faith in Brent Brennan, his hiring of Dino Babers left me in shambles in terms of like believing in him to make other hires. But this offseason has kind of rejuvenated that hope. I don't know how you feel about it because we haven't played any games yet. But I feel so much more confident in Brent Brennan leading the program today than I did months ago, and we played football
in January, yeah.
And honestly, he hasn't really, and this is not even a diss, he hasn't really done much to really warrant me feeling so different about him outside of bringing in other dudes, right? And I think that the other dudes have been so good at what they do that all of a sudden it looks really good on Brent Brennan. And I think that is kind of what not Seth Dagey, but Danny Gonzalez was alluding to the other day in his press conference when he said, if a coach gets fired, the other 10 assistants totally screwed him over. And I obviously, one size doesn't fit all with that kind of a statement, right? Sometimes you do have head coaches that truly are not deserving of being a head coach and they screw themselves over. But I think in a vacuum, what Danny Gonzalez is saying is correct. Mm-hmm. If Dino Babers comes out and he's okay as the offensive coordinator last year, and let's say Arizona has an average year in the first year under Brent Brennan, people's opinions about Brent Brennan would be drastically different. And it would have nothing to do with what he did outside of after he brought Dino Babers in. But I think that it's just an interesting conversation, right? About how much of a coach's reputation is actually about what they do and actually about what they bring to the table, and how much of it is how awesome are their assistants? How awesome are their coordinators? Does the offensive coordinator breed a ton of confidence in you? Does the defensive coordinator have that edge that you want in your defensive coordinators? And it seems like the staff has made changes in ways that has brought those intangibles into the room. And it is shining a different light on Brent Brennan. And I just hope that they come out and win a couple games and we can actually have some legs to stand on, so to speak, with our faith in Brent Brennan leading the program. Do you feel similarly with that, or are you kind of just your opinion 100%. On Brennan is your opinion on Brennan?
100%. I mean, I think that it's hard not to feel great about it when you hear Seth Dagey talk and you look at his resume and kind of just the rising star that he is, already landing a top 10 quarterback in his class in his first recruiting cycle with less than half a year advantage on all of the other coaches who were recruiting Oscar Rios. Like, I think Seth Dagey is an absolute star in the making. I think a lot of this fan base does as well in terms of like future head coach. This is the guy that is, going to be extremely successful in his coaching career in college football. But I think the Joe Salvea hire can't be understated as well. And we talk about it all the time, but this is a guy who was assistant head coach at both Miami and Oregon in his previous stops before Arizona. Before that, Washington State under a really good defense over there, where their Polynesian defensive linemen, as is Joe Salvea's MO, were kind of the driving factor between why their defense was so good. Getting a guy like that, and we discussed this as well. If Miami really wanted to keep Joe Salvea, they would have. Like, I'm not going to sit up here and be like, Arizona nabbed him from Miami and it was either I'm staying at Miami or I'm going to U of A. Like, that's probably not happening. Their pockets are a lot deeper than ours. I'm sure they were like, hey, Big Joe, if that's something that you want to do, go ahead and do it.
Passion project.
Yeah, and like we'll be fine. We'll bring in a new guy. And maybe it was just time for a change for everybody. But at the end of the day, this is a guy who's been at elite programs of college football where he is heralded as one of the best recruiters in the entire country. And now he's at Arizona under a staff, under a coach who a lot of people thought was a dead man walking. And I think that both of those hires have to tell you that there is some confidence in their head coach. And they truly believe in Brent Brennan, and they do. When you hear them talk, you can feel it too. It's like these guys think that Brent Brennan is the guy who's going to lead them, and so in my opinion, their comments and the way that they talk makes me feel better about our head coach. It's not necessarily the things that Brennan is saying as much, although I do think that Brent Brennan has done a great job of coming out and being like, we got to do everything the opposite of how we did it last year, because what we did last year was embarrassing. It embarrassed this city. It pissed off this fan base, and it can't happen again, right? But more so, it's the belief from his other assistants under him who are like, no, this is the guy, and we love this guy, and he's a type of person that you want to fight for, and the players feel that way too. So that's where I'm like, I have way more confidence in Brent Brennan this year than I did last year, just given the staff changes and given the fact that they've been so able to kind of take what happened last year head on and say, we got to be completely different of whatever happened last year, because no one even knows, I think, at this point still what happened last year.
Confounding. It's weird what happened last year. It was like we were living in like a weird fever dream nightmare that just wouldn't end every time you had to sit down and watch Arizona football. But I also think like part of what has changed is another thing outside of Brent Brennan is the buy-in for the team, which is something we did not know about last year going into the season, which was that the buy-in was not necessarily there in the ways in which it needs to be for a football team at this level to go out and compete to the highest level they need to do to get W's. And 100%. I think that the buy-in that Brent Brennan has been able to instill in the players gives me confidence that he will be able to continue to build a culture at Arizona that will help win games. I think that what Brent Brennan has been able to do is instill a family culture that's real and that players want to join and become a part of. And I don't think that, I think with Brent Brennan, the lack of buy-in last year from some players, I think, first of all, you got to be professional, right? I think at this level of college football with the NIL endowments that are going on, you have to be professional. So the buy-in has to be there no matter where you're at the season. Like, it just needs to be there. I'm not making excuses for the players that weren't bought in. But what I am saying is it's somewhat normal. Like, if Shane, all of a sudden, Espo came in and said, yep, Shane's gone. We're going to actually, someone else, this new guy from San Jose is going to be our new head of production. I think for about a week or two, you and I would be like, are we bought in on this guy? What's his get down? I don't really understand. He wants us to change why does Damon Shaw look like that? You're changing things that have been routine for a while now. And so I think the lack of buy-in last year, albeit unfair to Brent Brennan and unfair to the teammates that were actually bought in on last year's team, was somewhat natural in a way, in my opinion. You have a guy unproven in Brent Brennan that comes in and is trying to deal with the overturn in a late window of the transfer portal, and then he gets into the season and the wins aren't coming. I think you do start to look around and say, like, did they make the right choice with this guy? Mm-hmm. Because he's leading my future. right? And so I think that the lack of buy-in was somewhat natural, but I think the buy-in that they have this year, we'll see it against Hawaii first snap. I think the body language is going to be different. I think the vibe is going to be different. I know that we all talked about, and I think we probably should talk about this after our upcoming break really quick. That video that came out from Mariah Spears of the players running out to the Zona Zoo, and the Zona Zoo is sitting down. But I'm talking about the players' body language, right? There's not a single player. I mean, I guess I didn't really watch every single person in the run out, but it is feeling like there was a single player that wasn't giving energy, that didn't want to be there, that wasn't excited to get their first looks at this freshman class of fans. And I think that shows something. There wasn't a single guy just holding his helmet by his side, just being like, oh, yep, there are fans. Yep, we're at Arizona Stadium. Everybody seems excited. You got guys that are not even of the culture doing the Tongan tea with guys being like, can I do that? I want to do it. It looks cool. The culture, the family, it's there. And so, yeah, I think that when we're talking about if we're backing Brent Brennan, if we're talking about our opinions shifting on Brent Brennan, I think Brent Brennan has somewhat stayed the same, but everything around him has shifted. And I think
I disagree with that. I think his attitude is way different this year than last season.
But I think he's still the same Brent Brennan. I don't think that Brent Brennan.
I'm the same Damon Fairall, and you're the same Kevin Thomas. You can't change who you. It's not like it's a clone of Brent Brennan.
But what I'm saying is, if you put Damon Dog on a different show with a different co-host in a different context, you react differently. You might not feel comfortable enough to be your full self. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's an acclimation process.
Brent Brennan's losing games. Fan base is attacking him. He has no right to come out and be chesty and feel like, okay, I'm the guy that took San Jose State to heights that they hadn't seen. People around the country respect the hell out of me and the job I can do. Yeah. But this year, I do think that he's been able to show his full self. He's been able to really be himself. But I don't think that the coach, I'll say that. I don't think the coach that he is has changed. I think the coaches and the players around him have, and it's shifted the light on him in a different way.
I just feel like he's taken so head on what happened last year and his mistakes, and just kind of like the feel good of last season. Oh, we won. We got all the players back. T-Mac and Noah are back here. This is how could we be bad? How could we not make a bowl game? This season's going to be incredible. And now it's like it's completely different. Like they have to prove it this year. So it's gone from like almost like, hey, pat us on the back to like now we have to go out there and show you why you need to support this team. And that's why I think that things are different. I understand what you're saying. I just think that even Brent Brennan, if you ask Brent Brennan, I think he'd tell you I've approached this entire season completely opposite of how I approached last season. And I respect the hunger and the drive to make it better. One thing I don't respect is this complete and utter moron who's in the chat now, who apparently is laughing at Arizona football, but has commented 6 times in a row about the team. Totally not, doesn't even care. Totally thinks that the team stinks. And I mean, Arizona's been down bad for decades. I'm assuming you're an ASU fan. We were better than you 2 seasons ago. 2 seasons ago. Kevin, 2 seasons ago. What are these guys talking about? They act like Kenny Dillingham has a freaking dynasty going in the Big 12. Like this is a college football 26 dynasty mode save where, you're in year 20 and ASU has 18 national championships. Buddy, it's been 1 year. You've had 1 good season.
I'll say this. I did not understand like the true impact of recency bias until I started working with a bunch of Arizona State people in this office, because they really treat last year like it's all that they've ever known.
It's insanity.
Like if you talk to Anthony Totri, you would actually think that they've never had a bad season and that it's impossible that they could underwhelm this upcoming year, because that's just not in their blood. That's just not how they get down. That's an Arizona team at all. Like in the state of Arizona, the Freedom State, a sports team would never have a great year and then underwhelm. That's never happened in the history of any of the sports teams, college, professional, semi-pro, otherwise. And so, yeah, it is kind of crazy that Sun Devils, I respect the season y'all had. Hell of a year last year.
And never forget it. Cherish it until the day you die, because that's the best season in probably Arizona State football history.
But that's
not the norm.
Yes.
That's not what happens every year. In fact, both Arizona and ASU both consistently disappoint when they have high expectations going into next season. So I'd be a little bit more worried if I were you about whether or not you guys are going to go like 7-5 next year with Heisman candidate Sam Leavitt and the best coach in college football. Also, yeah, we are talking about Arizona football a week away from the first game of the season.
And hey, guess what? So are you. You're in our chat talking Arizona football. Fascinating, isn't it? And we're going to get back into that on our after this last break here on the AZ Wildcats podcast. Man, Damon, it's getting contentious on a Friday. It's getting so contentious on this Friday.
We're fired up on a Friday. We do appreciate everybody for watching this show, and please like this video. We love conversing and going back and forth with ASU fans. At least I do. Kevin has learned, I think, to love it, but he didn't until recently.
I have learned to love it, just like I have learned to love managing my finances with our friends over at Monarch Money. I used to hate talking numbers. I used to hate looking at my finances, partially because I'm Pop, but also because I couldn't know how to manage my finances and save my money. That's why I got Monarch Money to be my personal CFO. And Monarch Money does not just track my income, does not just track my expenses. It helps me set, reach, and smash goals. If you have a trip coming up, you can go into Monarch Money, be like, hey, I have a trip to Atlanta in July that I am saving $2,500 for. And it will help you track your savings into that goal at live time. It is beautiful. And if you don't believe me, believe CNBC, because it named Monarch Money their top fintech company in the world. And there are over 34,000 passionate Reddit users that shape how the product is developed. So yes, you at home could help the Monarch Money experience be even better and even more refined to our personal needs as Monarch Money users. I know I am one. So first of all, don't let this financial opportunity slip through your fingertips. Use code PHNX at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first 12 months, half off your first year of money saving tools with our friends over at monarchmoney.com using code PHNX.
We love our friends at Monarch Money. Definitely going to have to use that to help me save so that I could take that savings and go put it on red at Gila River Resorts and Casinos. Because, Kevin, you know how much I love to gamble. I'm going to be gambling this weekend. Might hit up that sports book, get that paper ticket in my hand for the first week of college football. Can't wait to bet on it, my man. Any of their 4 locations in the Valley. You got Wild Horse Pass, Lone Butte, V Kiva, or Santan Mountain. Kevin, you're now out by V Kiva. How are the vibes?
Less than 10 minutes. I won't get too specific, but less than 10 minutes. I mapped it out the other day.
You've been there before, right? Or
not to the V Kiva location.
You still only head up WHP, of course, Wild Horse Pass. That's our headquarters. That's where we have our PHNX Cardinals watch parties a week from Thursday, or not a week from Thursday. On Thursday, we're going to be doing our fantasy football draft up there at the Upper Deck Kitchen and Bar at Wild Horse Pass. You guys can look for tickets for that at gophnx.com/events and hang out with us while we do our fantasy draft. But you know that they have all the amenities that you could ever ask for in a casino. It's like having Vegas in your backyard. You don't have to make that disgusting trip up through Kingman, through Bullhead City, through Laughlin, Nevada. You don't have to do any of that stuff. You can just go straight into your backyard. Kevin, 10 minutes if you're Kevin Thomas. Probably about 20 if you're Damon Fairall here. But you know what? It's just electric over there. They got the sports book. They got the live table gaming slots. They got concert venues. They got the pool area with the cabanas. And they have so much more, including all the fine dining options and a little bit lower scale for the people that just want to get some good grub in. You do you at Gila River Resorts and Casinos. Visit playatgila.com for more details. Can't wait for our next trip out there to Gila River Resorts and Casinos.
Also, 24 hours a day. Open. You know what I mean? I was thinking to myself, my girlfriend works Saturdays mornings. Maybe my Saturday routine could be waking up, going to Gila River, getting my slot on early in the morning. That could be a very, very fun way to spend the Saturday morning. But Damon, we were talking about real quick the recency bias of ASU fans, and I was thinking to myself, like, we talk about self-awareness a lot on this podcast, and I think that like it success with sports really exposes the self-awareness of its fans, because like me personally as an Arizona fan, if we won a Big 12 football conference championship, what would make it even sweeter is remembering the times when Arizona was down bad and not forgetting them and making it even better that they're on top now. I think ASU fans, they won the Big 12 and now all of a sudden they're like, we've been the best school in the Big 12 forever. We don't know anything else. And it's like, did you guys not forget? If you remember multiple years back, you guys were not good.
I just, for me, it's like, yes, you should probably be the, I mean, they're not, but maybe like on, like before the season, you're feeling like, hey, we got a great team in place. Excuse me. We got a great team in place. We have an elite coach, a really good quarterback. Like, we're the team to beat until proven otherwise. And I think that that's completely fair. Where I push back on is the fact that, like, they think that it's just like a foregone like yesterday I helped record an interview with Demario Richard, who was a former ASU running back for our PHNX Sun Devils guys. And in that interview, they asked him for a record prediction, and he, like, matter of factly, Kevin was like, well, we're going to make the college football playoff. I don't know, 10-2, 11-1. I mean, we're going to be in the playoff. And it's like, what? Has anyone ever drank the Kool-Aid more than ASU fans after one decent football season in which they won like 6 one-score games?
And look, like,
they won like 6 one-score games, Kevin. They won every close game they played except for the Texas game, essentially, and Cincinnati. But that game, I'll give them a little bit of a pass for, because, you know, Sunday, Mr. Sunday guy Jeff Sims was in at quarterback, as Kenny Dillingham called them, a Sunday guy, one of the worst quarterbacks in college football history. But if Sam Leavitt's healthy, they should be contenders for the conference. I just think the Big 12 is so crazy. It's so wide open. How could you possibly be like, oh my God, we're totally going to win the conference? It just doesn't work like that, in my opinion.
It doesn't work like that. And realistically, ASU fans, this sounds like I'm hating. It sounds like I'm hating on your feelings about how you feel about your team and blah, blah, blah. I'm really trying to help you out, right? Happiness is a function of expectations. If you come out here and expect the 12-0 season and to just run it back and go crazy, you're probably going to end up disappointed. I'm just trying to keep you guys happy is my point. And to Damon's
expectations,
right? You should, honestly, the self-awareness helps you with your happiness. I'm just saying. And to Kobe's point, this is not a definitive statement, but it is a good question. Do we know Leavitt is actually good? Or was this just a Ryan Tannehill situation? There are more question marks to ASU's football season. I think a lot of people want to lead on. They are a very good team coming into this year. They're going to have a hell of a season, most likely.
I think 8-4.
But
that's my guess.
But I think, like, for ASU to assume that they are going to just run it back and that as if they've been like a perennial power. You know what I mean? Like, there's an expectation from their fan base of like, well, this is just what we do now.
Yeah.
And it's like, maybe you should do it twice, and then maybe we can reevaluate if you can do it at all ever again.
100%.
Because if they don't do it again this year, what's the excuse? You know what I mean? Because I'm hearing Sam Leavitt is the Heisman. I'm hearing y'all didn't even need Scat. He was just a cherry on top kind of thing. We're happy he had him. But
they have Kanye Udo.
We have Kanye Udo and a couple other guys.
Rayleigh Brown, who's never done a thing in college football. How could he not be a stud 100,000%?
ASU first team all name, but we're going to see if they can actually play. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I'm excited for the season. It's part of what makes the Big 12 so exciting, right? Because you have so many teams at the top that all have a stake, that all have a great argument to be the top team coming in the Big 12. ASU has an argument. K-State has an argument. Texas Tech, they paid to have their argument. You know what I mean? And so I feel like this is going to be a hell of a season, and I'm excited, but I just don't want the people in this office to be walking in with a glum look on their face every Monday because they've been let down and disappointed by another Arizona sports team, and they just perpetually let fans down and disappoint them. But apparently ASU fans think that they are immune from what goes on in this state.
One more quick thing, and then I want to move on here for a second. But I love the Ghost's comment about you're mad that you guys just don't get invited to house parties at ASU. Brother, how old are you? Because I don't know if you're familiar, but Michael Crow has been pretty much taking partying off of campus for the better part of like 5 years now. If you're 35, that's cool, man. I'm sure you had a great time in the freaking early 2000s at ASU, but it ain't like that anymore. U of A is probably a better party school now, but it's all good. Kevin?
Anytime I was partying in college at Arizona, I had more fun than I did at ASU. I partied at ASU when I was in college.
Dude, it's not hard to get over to an ASU party. Why are we acting like that's like
it's just
Fort Knox?
It's just a Phoenix party, to be honest with you. There's literally, like, the thing about ASU that people like to talk about is like they act like it's like I'm not trying to make the academic conversation. I'm making more of an architectural conversation. It's not like a university. It's a school that's in the city. You know what I mean? Like you drive through, we at the old office, we drove right through ASU campus pretty much every day. You know what I mean? Arizona, you're on campus. You're at a university when you go on there. It's like you're in a different world. You're partying in a different world. It's a lot of fun.
Our campus is significantly better than their
It's actually
campus,
a campus is what it is. Yeah. Anyway, continue.
Kevin, do you want to bring it into overtime here on the AZ Wildcats podcast? I did want to do a quick – I know that it's, pretty late in the show, but I think that we could do a quick fun exercise here. It doesn't have to be the most analytical discussion ever, but I did kind of want to just go through, how we felt about each program currently in the conference and kind of their standing overall. This is not a power rankings of who we expect to be better next season. This is a power rankings of who has the best future, present and future, as a football program in conference. And so why don't we start off here at the bottom, Kevin? And is there any name in particular that maybe jumps off the screen at you for number 16?
UCF? I feel like the reasoning I would want UCF in the 16 slot is that there are worse maybe teams than UCF, but I don't know if there's a program that has less of a obvious vision than UCF. I feel as though UCF is kind of just in a limbo. How do you feel?
Yeah, I'm kind of with you, but in terms of, man, this is hard, right? Because I think Oklahoma State, in terms of coaching staff, like if we're talking like who's on the hot seat, how could Mike Gundy not be on the hot seat?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that dude went 0-9 in conference last year, 3-9 on the season. Looks like it's going downhill. I think I'm with you. I think I would go UCF in West Virginia probably as my two bottoms, bringing back former coaches that they had, and two teams that I'm not all that kind of sold on, especially West Virginia and Rich Rod kind of seemingly, I think like, isn't West Virginia like, I mean, Rich Rod's like asking for new players like right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think maybe I'm going West Virginia last and I'm going UCF a little bit above them. They do have Alex Grinch as their coordinator, who was horrific at USC and Oklahoma. But I think that those are my two bottoms. And then I think it's Oklahoma State. And then honestly, probably Arizona.
Could I argue for West Virginia to be 15th from the standpoint of, I believe that because Rich Rod is actively trying to get players back, not back, but actively trying to get new players in, that there's at least a direction for the program. And I don't feel that way about UCF. And so I would lobby for them to be last and for West Virginia to be 15th. We are kind of splitting hairs there. Is that acceptable to you?
Yeah, I'm fine with that. My thing about Oklahoma State and the reason why I was like, oh, that's so tough is because I feel like when they do fire Mike Gundy, they're going to have so much money where they're going to kind of be decent right away. You know what I mean? So like if I'm going off of like kind of like obviously Rich Rod and Scott Frost are probably going to be given year twos unless it's like disastrous. I just think that Oklahoma State is like closest to probably firing their coach. And that's why I pointed them out specifically. But yeah, I think U of A probably belongs right in this group here because let's face it, Brent Brennan does have a ton of pressure on him going into year two. And maybe we think that they're going to surprise some people, but I don't necessarily think that we have a better future than some of these other programs on here. Where do you want to go from here?
Do we think that Arizona has a better future than Houston?
No.
Damn.
I think Willie Fritz is a better coach than Brent Brennan, and they have the number 2 quarterback in the entire country coming in next season.
That's valid.
I think Houston is far. I think they're above that range. I think Houston is genuinely going to kind of be pretty good in the future. Yeah. That's my guess. If I had to put my claim on anything, for me, Cincinnati goes next.
Okay. See, I feel like Arizona has a better future than Cincinnati does. I really do.
Okay, then we could switch out Arizona and Cincinnati. Go Arizona 12, Cincinnati 13.
Yeah, I just feel like Arizona, in my opinion, has a better future than like bottom 4. You know what I mean? I don't know where Cincinnati truly goes in their future football wise. I feel like Arizona, with the Oscar Rios of it all, with Brent Brennan potentially being the guy, who knows? I think that Arizona should at least be in that 12 slot. Cincinnati should be at 13.
Okay, I'm cool with that. I'm fine with that. Let's roll with it. Next up, we kind of got the class of Houston, Colorado, Kansas, TCU, BYU, I think. Like that's kind of like the next grouping of teams that we need to place here. And honestly, if I was tiering them, I would say these 5 kind of go in the bottom tier, and then the next group will be tier 2, and then the top group would be tier 1, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Like I think that Arizona's a kind of a long way away from like the Colorados, Kansases, Houstons of the world in terms of future, if I had to put my claim on anything.
Okay. So who do you think is just above Arizona?
Kansas? Because they don't have Jalen Daniels going next year?
Yeah.
Do you think that's fair? I mean, I like Lance Leopold, the coach. I really do. I think he's a solid coach. I just think that when you have a quarterback that you've had for, 3-4 seasons now, and he's obviously one of the better quarterbacks you've had in program history, Kansas has been a bad program over their time. I could see Lance Leopold leaving, even though he turned down Washington, and ultimately that led to us losing Jed Fish, if you guys remember correctly, which is still the most disgusting thing, I think, on planet Earth. The fact that we have a Kansas coach turning down Washington, leading to ultimately screwing Arizona in the process. But I think Kansas probably, just because of their quarterback situation, is why I put them here.
Okay, I could see it.
I think they have a better coach than Arizona. That would be the differentiator for why I put them above Arizona.
There you go. I was going to ask you, like, it's kind of interesting how these two athletic programs are in similar boats in terms of, like, any one year they could have a nice year for football, but it's kind of a cherry on top as long as their basketball program is good.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I think Arizona and Kansas, similar programs in that sense. Number 10, who is going to round out the top 10? Will it be Colorado? Houston?
I still kind of believe in Dion. Is that weird? I don't know.
No, I mean,
I'm not saying that they're going to be like incredible. I think that they probably, they're not going to have a Heisman again and whatnot. But I really just kind of do believe in Deion Sanders' his ability to recruit blue chip prospects. I almost want to put TCU here.
Yeah,
because they're not going to have, and I think TCU is able to recruit fairly well. And so, I'm not going to say that like they can't bring in anybody, but like Josh Hoover is I mean, he's a junior, he maybe I could even foresee a world where maybe he goes crazy this year and goes to another school next year.
I'm pretty high on TCU, but I don't know in terms of like their actual program future what Sonny Dykes like has in his bag there.
I think he's a little bit on the hot seat. Like if they have a bad season this year, I think he could get fired. That's kind of why I have them there.
And I think when you start looking at some of the programs that we're getting down to, like the Texas Techs, the Utahs, the Iowa States, it feels like their future is going to be a little bit brighter. Just from like a Texas Tech continually investing in their program, Utah, that is what they're trying to do over there at Utah, is be good at football. And yeah, I'm cool with TCU being there. I could go TCU and then maybe Colorado.
It is interesting.
I would actually probably prefer Houston under Colorado.
Let's go Houston there. I think for me, it's crazy when you think about like, I really do think that these programs are not in a bad place necessarily.
No.
But the Big 12 is just such a crazy conference. And this is going to look ridiculous, as is with every single thing that we do with the Big 12 football stuff. It's going to look ridiculous.
Yes.
Like if we look back on this in 3 seasons and look at our overall power rankings, we're going to be like, wowza, were we wrong? Houston made the college football playoff with Keyshawn Henderson at quarterback. Like, how could we be so stupid? But this is just a fun little exercise here. We're happy to be wrong. I think, let's go Colorado next.
I'm with that. Yeah, I'm with that. I think, do I believe in Deion as a coach? Like, I don't necessarily know, but do I believe in Deion's ability to recruit stars? 1,000%. And I think that will keep that program at the very least relevant for years to come. In this next slot, Damon, how do we feel about? Damn, do I do it? Do I give the hot take?
Yeah.
How about ASU?
I wish I could walk with you there, buddy. But
hear me out, though.
I can't.
I'm betting on
Kenny leaving.
I'm betting on the state of Arizona doing its curse thing, and them having an inevitable fallback and just being good, and just being fine, being okay. But you're not going.
No, I'm sorry.
Who you got? Who you got in the 7?
I think they got to be in the top 4. I really do. They have the youngest coach in the conference, and he's, for my money, the best coach in the conference.
Damn.
And so I can't do that.
Wow, that's fair. Who do you got in 7 then?
I think Iowa State.
I can get down with that, actually.
I think Iowa State's been good for a while, and Matt Campbell has a good thing going, but I don't know how sustainable is that forever, especially in a conference that has so much parity. And I don't know. Again, we're like, I think all of these programs are actually in a pretty good spot. So it's funny to like have them kind of lower on the rankings here than maybe they would be in their preseason poll. But I think that Iowa State is whatever I'm going to go with here.
And also, now that you said Iowa State and I've looked at it on the graphic, I think, honestly, of the teams that are left, I would probably have ASU 5th, legitimately.
Okay. I think Utah would be next for me.
Yes.
How do you feel about that? I think Kyle Whittingham had probably the worst year of his career. I've made it very clear that Devin Dampier, I'm not the biggest Devin Dampier guy in the world. I don't think that he's going to be groundbreaking like a lot of people think that he's going to be. I believe in the program and how good they've been, and I like Kyle Whittingham quite a bit, but I just think that you're seeing them step back a little bit from what they were.
Question. Kyle Whittingham probably retires in the window that we're talking about predictively. Should we swap them with Iowa State, considering that Whittingham will not be there, and they'll have to go through a readjustment of leadership?
Yeah, sure.
All right, so we'll
I'm
swap
fine with that.
We'll swap Iowa State.
I also could see Matt Campbell leaving. Could you not?
I mean, I'm sure. I mean, it's modern college football.
How long are you going to stay at Iowa State, man? The dude's had like NFL.
Yeah.
I believe NFL interviews and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, he interviewed with the Bears. So it's like he was a dark horse candidate. I don't think that it was really like that obvious, but I could see Iowa State losing. That's kind of why I had them there. I could see Matt Campbell losing his job, or not losing his job, but moving on from
leaving his job, yeah.
And then Iowa State going back to what Iowa State has always been, which is garbage. But I agree. I'm with you there. Well, I like it. Next up,
gotta be K-State, right?
No,
they're
the most consistent program in this conference. They're good every year, Kevin.
That's true.
I think they're the only school, if I'm being real, I feel comfortable putting above ASU.
Damn, actually?
Yeah.
Even with the money that Texas Tech is just pumping into the program?
Yeah.
If we're doing like predictive
that's Texas
stuff.
Tech. We talk about them choking all the time.
Okay. All right. Who we got in the 5? Are you putting Baylor or BYU in the 5 this time? Maybe Texas Tech in the 5?
I think Baylor. How do you feel about that? I just think Baylor's a little bit more volatile.
They are pretty volatile. As much as I like Dave Aranda,
they're either real good or they're not good.
As much as I like Dave Aranda, they are pretty volatile. I'm cool with them in the 5
I believe
slot.
in them this year, though. I know Kobe said it in the chat that he thinks that Baylor is going to win the conference. And if you watched our betting preview, you'd see that I also very much am in on Baylor winning the conference. Here's maybe where I'd put Texas Tech. Is that what do you BYU versus Texas Tech? I think Kalani Sitake is a great coach. I think, looking at Bear Bachmeier, if he is good, that they have their quarterback situation figured out for 3 seasons. And they always will have money. They'll always have recruiting pipelines. Like I think that they're a damn good program. But
I could go Texas Tech 4, BYU 3. What do you think?
Yeah. I mean, I'm cool with that. See, like you want to talk about money with Texas Tech. How about BYU?
Yeah, that is.
Those dudes aren't struggling for money. Yeah. They'll pay whoever.
Indeed.
And then I'd go ASU 2 and Kansas State 1. You hate that? I mean, obviously, like I know that you wanted Kansas State 4 and ASU 5. So where would your mind have gone? Because I don't want to necessarily just dictatorship this power ranking.
I think you brought up a good point to my attention about how consistent K-State is. I'm not super high on like K-State's ceiling in any one given year.
Like, I just think that they're going to be good every year.
Yeah, I do think they'll be good. I just don't necessarily see K-State like breaking through. I also don't know necessarily how much I believe in Avery Johnson this upcoming season specifically. And and this is based off of a gut feeling. So like mileage may vary with whatever I'm about to say here. I just feel like ASU is going to take a step back here soon. And I don't think that that's like a necessarily like something that I'm going to be able to like confound, like I'm going to have proof on, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know how sustainable what they have going on is right now for ASU. Kenny Dillingham consistently, pleading with people to please pay our players. Please help us keep these players here. I don't know. Like, I'm not necessarily hearing a bunch of other coaches having to do that. I feel like, I don't know how you feel about it, but I like the rankings we put together here. I think they are fair in terms of the way we've evaluated them. Now, whether or not we look silly in a while is neither here nor there, right, Damon? But yeah, I think this is good. I'm not totally in disagreement with what we have here at all.
Yeah, I mean, I could even see a world where BYU and Texas Tech go above ASU for sure, just because they have more money, they have more resources, and I think that a lot of times in college football, that equates to winning, frankly. So that's I like our list. I just in the spirit of trying to be impartial, I think ASU with their current team and with their current coach, we have to say that they really are on towards the top in terms of like their direction. But that could change if someone calls Kenny and he is like open to leaving, right?
I mean,
like
you reported that Ohio State last year.
I mean, there's been some Ohio State interest in Kenny Dillingham. I can report that right here on this fine program. I'm actually on my hands and knees for like Bama to have a bad season and like the opposite of what happened last time. Nick Saban leaving Bama and needing to hire a head coach screws ASU this time, but not in like a backwards way. Just kind of in like a, hey, Bama's going to go after the top coach on the market, and that's 35-year-old Kenny Dillingham. I would love it.
I'm all about it.
Like literally, like I want to see Kenny's salary times 10, 10x that. Literally.
Let's do it. Let's do it, Damon.
I think K-State is just the most consistent. That's why I have them there. Like, I don't think that they require money to be consistent. I think that they're good pretty much every year. They play in the conference tournament game all the damn time. Or not tournament, or conference championship game. This isn't basketball mode. But
me all the time, 24/7.
I mean, a lot of those could be switched up and around. So it's not like that was just a thing for fun, but I could definitely see us looking like the biggest idiots in the world after that. And I could see Baylor being a lot lower than like, I honestly wouldn't be mad if we like put them lower than Colorado based off what we had.
Yeah, and like I said, like we know Colorado's going to be able to recruit stars. Like whether or not like they're able to recruit the depth necessary to win, they're going to have the top heavy teams. And so yeah, I like our list. I think it's fair. I think the logic was there. So yeah, that's how I got on the list. I don't know, it was good. It was fine. I think like you said, you could switch around a lot of those teams in terms of we're projecting like 3-4 years out. So like who knows with some of those programs what they're even going to look like, who's even going to be leading them. Is Whittingham still going to be coaching by time this list is outdated? I don't know. There are just so many variables. Is Oscar Rios the GOAT? Changes everything if Oscar Rios is the GOAT. But yeah.
I agree with you. And Arizona could catapult up that list if they have a good season this year. If they go 7-5 and it looks good, and you have Fafita coming back for another season, and Seth Dagey and it like got the job done, like I could see some momentum being built. But ultimately, I feel that those rankings are fair and impartial from our perspective. Again, that was our Big 12 program power rankings in terms of present times future of how we think that the direction of each football program in conference is going to go. And we previewed Hawaii today. We talked about Hawaii's first matchup and what we want to see from that Stanford versus Hawaii game and lead up to the Arizona versus Hawaii game. But Kevin, we are fired up for football. We got football tomorrow, Dublin, Ireland, 10 a.m., Kansas State, Iowa State, Big 12 ball to lead us all off. I mean, how about Brett Yormark getting the job done there? That is such a Brett Yormark thing, being like, you know what? We're going to do an international game that goes nuts every year and be the first game of the season. Could you imagine the Pac-12 doing anything like that? I mean, it's genuinely unimaginable.
Baldy came through.
Yeah, he did. And I don't appreciate you calling him that. But
call him what he is.
Baldy is like it's like a negative connotation.
Look, if I go bald and someone calls me Baldy, sorry about it. I'm bald. You know what I mean?
It's fair.
He's a ballin' baldy. Is that better?
Sure.
Brent.
The bald baller.
Brett, the ballin' baldy Yormark. I don't know. See, now it's too complicated. I call him Baldy. It's fine. You know what I mean? Baldy brought the fun to the Big 12, and I'm with it. I'm all about it.
We appreciate everybody for being here today on a Friday. Please like this video. It helps us out so much. And if you guys are an audio podcast listener, if you guys could leave a 5-star review, rate and review us, please. Those 5-star reviews go such a long way in terms of helping more eyes get on this fine program. Even if you're a YouTube watcher, going on your favorite podcasting platform, subscribing to our podcast and leaving a review will help us out so much. So we appreciate everybody for being here. It was a great time on a Friday. Yeah, Kevin, can't wait for some football this weekend. Going to be electric. You can follow my guy Kevin at KevoPost. You can follow me at Damon Dog. And you can follow us at PHNX_Wildcats, where we got all kinds of fire social graphics going up from our guy, Noah Woolbrook, who has just been putting in the grind hours for this fine program. We got a late appearance from our guy 10 Toes Down MMA. Who
is Brian Ortega okay? 10 Toes? Are we sure he's all good? He doesn't look all good.
Doesn't. He definitely doesn't. Bet on Aljamain Sterling. But yeah, everybody have a good weekend. We appreciate everybody for being here. We'll be recapping what we saw from Hawaii versus Stanford and the rest of the college football landscape on Monday, where it is officially game week for the Wildcats. Kevin, anything else before we get out of here?
Nah, just that Brian Ortega is indeed cooked, and that I'm thankful for everybody that tuned in today. It was a really fun show, really fun week of shows, and football is back, and Damon and I can stop talking about off-season stuff. We can start previewing matchups. I'm excited. The chat's excited. Damon's excited.
And believe it or not, we do talk football on this Arizona Wildcats podcast because we have a football team.
Whoa!
Crazy.
What the hell?
Crazy that we would cover the teams that are on campus that we care about. This is a little bit different than most ASU fans are used to, where they pretend one sport exists and the rest don't. We actually care about baseball, softball, women's basketball, football, you name it. We're going to talk about it because this is your premier Arizona Wildcats podcast. Please, like I said, like this video, leave a review, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, and we'll catch you next time. But until then, peace out, bear down.
And go Cats, TGIF.
We all silly like the mayor.